Hey guys, it's Marc Goldberg from Marc Vlogs Watches, and you never know when the urge is going to come upon you to make a video. I need to be very careful with my camera angles here for various and obvious reasons. But I think before we move any further, we should probably get over the awkwardness and just jump right into the quick fist watch check. And here it is. No, I'm not going to lower the camera. I'm going to raise my fist. Today, I do want to wear something waterproof. And I'm wearing the Explorer 2 Polar. And today, we're going to talk about the display cases at the Rolex authorized dealer. I think you've seen enough of me, so while we have this discussion, let's look at some watches. I was at a high-end shopping mall not too far from my home today, and I popped in because the authorized dealer is there. Now, generally speaking, and sadly, when you walk into this authorized dealer, like all ADs, there's a couple of display cases, a couple or a few, and to your left, while facing the display counters, is always the cases where the Steel Sports Rolex goes. Now those would normally be comprised of the Daytonas, Yachtmasters, Milgauss, Subs, Sub-Date, and Sky Dwellers, Explorers, Oyster Perpetuals, Explorer 2s. I mean, there's quite a list of Steel Sports Rolexes. However, for the past 2 to 3 years, those left-hand, very large display cases have been conspicuously empty. And I mean, it's a really weird and sad thing to walk into a large jewelry store and see giant empty display cases. And then over to your right would be the Cellini, the Datejusts. Actually, on the right-hand cases, the left-hand side of those cases would be Rolex, and to the far, far, far right would be the Cellini. Some people pronounce it Cellini. I'm not really sure which it is. I don't think anybody's sure. Anyway, and then in that Datejust case is ladies' Datejust, men's Datejust, and bunches of those, and then, the Cellini. So today, I got really excited when I walked into the authorized dealer, and I discovered that something had changed, and it looked to me like there was a case filled with Steel Sports Rolex. And I was like, holy cow. I've heard the occasional online rumor. It's this watch community, guys. It's a big circle jerk. One guy makes a video, and then the next guy says he heard a rumor, puts it on Instagram, and before you know it, it's everywhere. And the basis of it is like, zero actual hard information. We're a bunch of like hens, these watch channels, and I include myself among those. But at any rate, I had heard this rumor that the drought might be ending. And so when I walked into the store, I was like, holy cow, not only has the drought ended, but it looks like we have a tsunami of Steel Sports watches. And right away, I felt my credit card itching. And I'm thinking to myself, would I buy something? Just because it's here? Would I actually do that? Which is a real question. We're going to come back. I'm going to pause. We're going to swing right back to where we were now. But think about this for a second. What if by some weird Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, magic moment, you walked into your authorized dealer and everything was there? Everything was there. And they said, well, it's here now. We don't know how long it'll last. Like, would you buy stuff just simply because it was there? Would you buy a $8, $9, $10, $15,000 watch just because it was there? Guys, I think we're to the point where a lot of us would. I mean, I felt my credit card getting itchy as I approached those cases. Anyway, back to where we were a moment ago. It took me a moment to realize, holy cow, you know what? This is not the same display case that I'm used to seeing. So first of all, the case was smaller. So I'm pretty sure that on that left-hand side of the display area where the Steel Sports Rolexes that I listed off belong, that the literal actual piece of furniture display unit was gone. I believe it has been replaced with a smaller one. Looks very similar, but it's a smaller one. And that was filled with Datejusts. Now, to be fair, there was a smattering of Oyster Perpetuals in there. So there were 2 or 3 of those. There was 1 Milgauss. There was 1 solid gold Daytona, but it was on an Oyster Flex strap. Ugh. Here's another point. What do you guys think of Oyster Flex? I mean, okay, I know it's a higher tech rubber strap than just like an Everest or a Rubber B. So from that standpoint, it's got to be a lot better than the Breitling, which is just very average, ordinary. You know, the Oyster Flex rubber from Rolex contains, what is it, steel or titanium inserts to hold its shape. But still, you know, that's a whole lot cheaper than a steel bracelet, or in this case, it was a gold Daytona, and it should have had a gold bracelet, but, you know, gold Oyster perpetual bracelet with polished center links, and it didn't. I just think it looks terrible. Anyway, they had one of those, and they had a 2-tone root beer colored, I want to say, Yachtmaster, right? The original Yachtmaster with the platinum bezel, not the regatta timer, the 40 millimeter, not the 44 millimeter. Anyway, that and a bunch of Datejusts, and Datejusts in various sizes. Ladies Datejusts, all the way up through the 41s. And admittedly, they had a fair number of 41 millimeter Datejusts, and they had it on Oyster Perpetual bracelets and on Jubilee bracelets, and of course the normal smattering of 2-tone. But when I saw this giant set of Datejusts on that left-hand side of the case, I was appalled. I mean, that is where your Submariners go, people. You know, that is where your GMTs go. That is where your Batmans should be. That is where your Steel Daytona ought to be. That's where your Steel Skydweller should be. And none of that, filled with Datejusts. And the Datejust, it's a nice watch. And I have an old 34 millimeter 2-tone Rolex Date. I have it. It's pretty. I never wear it because it's tiny, lady-sized. You know, back in the late 80s, early 90s, that was the thing to have. So I had one. And in fact, I bought it literally from the same AD where I found myself in today. I and that watch are much older. You know, the sales staff is not. But then when I moved over to where the Datejusts should have been, that was filled with Datejusts too, and there were the Cellini. So I think what and I don't believe, by the way, not for a minute do I believe that any of this was the decision of this particular authorized dealer. Oh no, they don't get to decide stuff like this. They were informed, here's where your Steel Sports Rolex goes, years ago. And then when supply was not delivered, they were informed they would keep it empty. They were informed that they could not change the cases. I'm certain they buy those from Rolex or from a Rolex-approved supplier. So I think what has happened recently is that Rolex has battened down the hatches. I'm talking about Rolex corporate, Rolex Geneva, Switzerland, not the AD, you know, in my particular town in Illinois, who's just an independent business guy who owns 3 or 4 good locations. But, you know, he's tiny in the scheme of things compared to Rolex Geneva, Switzerland. But I think Rolex said, okay, here's what you guys are going to do. You're going to go buy these cases. You're going to trash or remove the old cases, and we're going to have you move some of the Datejusts over. You know, because the AD does not get to decide this stuff. Rolex does. And what Rolex was attempting to do was to make it look like the AD has some stock. But they do have stock, mind you, but it's of all the stuff that I told you about. In other words, none of the good stuff is at the authorized dealer at this time. That's bad news. But I think worse news is that they have planned for the really, really much longer haul. Like maybe this is the way it's going to be for a much longer time, because they just downsized all those cases and they moved a bunch of Datejusts into Steel Sports territory, into GMT and Submariner and Explorer and Yachtmaster and Daytona territory. They encroached with Datejusts. Guys, this is not good news. In my opinion, what this means is that that Rolex corporate has literally changed the game on the fixtures that go into the store. They always controlled that, by the way. The store has never been in control of what fixtures they will use, what literature they will give out. Like, just so you know, The Rolex distribution agreement that the authorized dealer has with Rolex goes down to the level of determining what percentage of the floor space at the authorized dealer will be devoted to Rolex. Often I'm told it's like 40%. It's a big percentage. And they are also told what fixtures they can use, what literature. Rolex has to approve every little bit of it. And the AD agrees contractually to all of this, in return for which they get the blessing. They are anointed. They are dipped in the holy oil and allowed to sell Rolex. Well, I think it's going to be a really long haul, guys, because the authorized dealer has just been fitted with smaller cases with a lot less spots and holes where you would stick the steel sports watches that they don't have, and they still don't. And they have loaded up those spaces with Datejusts. So buckle up, strap in, get ready to deal with the gray market, with the forums, with eBay, because I think for quite a long time, this is where you're going to have to go in order to get steel sports Rolexes. Unless you make a good relationship with an authorized dealer and you happen to get lucky, and you can pull one off the so-called waiting list at the AD. Well, guys, tell me what you think of all this. Pop into your local AD, have you? Tell me if you noticed the new fixtures and the new configuration for the watches at the authorized dealer. Like, subscribe, comment, do all of that stuff for me so we can do this again. Thank you so much, and this is Goldberg. Peace out.